What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media, getting you ready for Patriots 2024 training camp. A reminder, we are powered by Game Time. Head over to Game Time and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. We just heard from Patriots head coach Jerod Mayo the day before training camp, and he was asked about trading potentially for a wide receiver. He was also asked about, the reps and the old guys and the young guys, obviously bringing in Javon Baker and Jalen Polk into the room. So, Taylor, what'd you make of what Mayo had to say, not only about potentially trading for a veteran wide receiver, but also how those reps are going to, take place out in camp next?
So we'll start off with potentially getting a veteran receiver on the trade market. Jerod Mayo said they're always looking to add great players. That's a sentiment that they've actually been repeating with this Jerod Mayo, Elliott Wolf era, and we've also seen it in their actions. Calvin Ridley was a guy that we knew they were in on. They just got outbid by the Titans, which if you look at the deal, I think it's pretty understandable for, a draft and develop or trying to get better through our youth kind of team. 4 years and a lot of money for Calvin Ridley didn't make a lot of sense. Right. Then Brandon Aiyuk, obviously, he's been on the market, reportedly requested a trade from the 49ers, and there's been some links. Apparently, the Patriots actually inquired about him. I believe there was a report saying that they offered a second-round pick last season and were willing to go up to about $28 million for Aiyuk. Now, we don't know when exactly that happened, so where that would have fallen on the wide receiver market, don't totally know for sure, but the due diligence is the biggest part of this.
100%.
Under Bill Belichick, we didn't really see a lot of effort to get those premier receivers. Obviously, they traded for and acquired some veterans, but for those high-end guys like with Tyreek Hill, that seemed like something they would never have even considered. So we do at least know the Patriots would be willing to part with an early pick and to also give a lot of money in a contract. That said, I do think the Patriots are probably going to have some kind of line in the sand. Again, they want to be a draft and develop team, but at the same time, if you're talking about giving up a first-round pick that could potentially be a top 10 pick on top of giving out, almost $30 million, from my perspective, that's probably too rich for the Patriots' taste. Obviously, we'll see what happens, but again, the fact that Mayo said, we always want to add talent to the roster, Belichick said that a lot, but I think this regime is showing you that their actions are also repeating what they've actually been telling us.
And another thing I add to that, too, he also mentioned that they want to add for now and the future, where a lot of those acquisitions talk about, Mohamed Sanu, Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown. Yes, premier wide receivers at the time, but they were, one-year deals, kind of a retread from other places where if they do go for a Brandon Aiyuk, which is what they've reported, they're also going to add that extension, 25 a year for probably multiple years in the future. So they are, again, looking for that, and they want to be that draft develop team, not just have a guy here for 1 year, but kind of keep him around for the long haul.
Yeah, totally agree. And then when it came to actually the young players, this is where things got exciting because I was curious. Obviously, who the veterans are on this team, the reliable guys, KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne, whenever he ends up playing. We actually did hear a really quick tangent on Kendrick Bourne. He was asked whether he was going to be ready because Jerod Mayo told us everyone is here and in attendance and ready to play in training camp, but apparently Kendrick Bourne is going to be running today. I think they want to see how far he's come after obviously recovering from his torn ACL. Still a guy that I would expect to start the season on the PUP list because in the videos that we've seen, he doesn't look like he's really 100%. And after signing a 3-year deal, you don't need to rush him out there. So Kendrick Bourne may be out of the mix, but then you got like Tyquan Thornton and KJ Osborne and Jalen Reagor, really were the veterans we saw a lot of on the outside with Pop inside. So I was kind of curious, all right, when are these young guys going to get opportunities and what could those look like? Considering those young players, there's going to be some mistakes that come with that, whereas the veterans usually may not be as explosive or exciting, but they'll be more consistent. And Jerod Mayo said the biggest thing for those young receivers is not, or really young players, period, was not being an error repeater and not making the same mistakes, because the veterans, he mentioned, you already know what you're getting out of them. And while they're constantly being evaluated, they're not going to have all of the reps with the first team unit, hinting that there are going to be opportunities for these young guys. They just have to not only capitalize, but make sure if they do have errors, they're not something that pop up consistently. And I feel like with Jalen Polk especially, he got some chances, mostly with the second team, not as much with the first, but anytime the ball went his way, he capitalized. So being able to build on that, Javon Baker actually returned. Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald reported that he was suffering a fractured thumb, which kept him out in the spring, but he is cleared and should be good to go. So he had one great day in the spring. Now we'll be able to see if he can stay on the field and continue to add to that and maybe establish himself and jump some of these veterans.
Yeah, the rookies came out here on Friday, and they've been, on the field working through some things. We haven't seen them yet, but the Patriots.com did post some photos, and it looked like Javon Baker was all go, and we did confirm that today with Mayo as well. So, look, I like the idea that he said that they're going to kind of blend those veterans and the young guys because, look, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, you got to get them on the field. You got to see what you have. Obviously, you don't have to rush them in there or anything. I've said it for, 3, 4, 5 weeks now that this is a 2025 and beyond team, but you want to kind of get those guys in the mix. You don't just want to put, KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne, Juju Smith-Schuster out there just because they're the veterans. You don't just want to see those guys and have the other guys sit. You kind of want to give them that, the back and forth and make sure that they can play and, get them ready for going out here. So it's going to be interesting to see what the rotation ends up being, but that's kind of what we have for now.
And I'd put Jaheim Bell in that mix as well with the tight ends, because obviously Hunter Henry is your starter. There's really no question about that. Behind him, no one really established themselves in the spring. Obviously, tight end, more physical position, so it can be kind of tough because you're not doing everything you'd typically be asked to do. But Austin Hooper was a guy who, when the ball was thrown his way, didn't really impress. Michael Petway did have some moments to shine. Mitchell Wilcox was out there as well, another veteran. But Jaheim Bell is more explosive than really any tight end they have on the roster. So if he can get some opportunities, make some big plays, whether it's downfield after the catch, what have you, I'd like to see him start to get some more of those reps as number 2 tight end, because if he can be at least a serviceable blocker, I feel like he gives you potentially more than some of the veterans. But obviously there's going to be a lot of learning the playbook and being consistent that comes with that as well.
For sure, tight end looped into that that pass catcher room that is all important. Quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and obviously the offensive line. We'll get to all of it down here at training camp. Patriots starting off on Wednesday, July 24th. We'll have you covered here every day on Patriots Press Pass. So make sure you rate, review, subscribe, and check out our notebooks and all of our written work at clnsmedia.com.
Make sure to subscribe to Patriots Press Pass for all your Patriots news and updates on YouTube. And for all our written work, make sure you check out clnsmedia.com.